So it's reported here that the government has purchased 5 million each from United Biomedical and Medigen domestic vaccines. However, since neither of these have finished phase 2 testing at this time, there is a great deal of speculation that this is for the sake of boosting the stock price of these domestic vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Since neither of the domestic vaccines had done phase 3 testing, the effectiveness rate was unknown at that time, as compared to AstraZeneca, BNT, and Moderna.
At a Monday press conference, the health minister addressed criticism that government orders for 10 million locally made COVID vaccines were placed too early, before the vaccines obtained authorization for emergency use. The Central Epidemic Command Center signed a purchase order with 2 Taiwanese pharmaceutical companies for 5 million doses each.
Facing criticism over the purchase orders, the health minister defended the decision at a press conference on Monday. He said Pfizer will finish phase 3 in 2023, Moderna in 2022, and AstraZeneca by this September at the earliest. He said that even so, many countries have already placed orders and granted emergency use authorization for the 3 vaccines. He said that in fact, buying early was standard protocol, as waiting too long to sign meant missing out on supplies. Critics point out that foreign vaccines were granted emergency use authorization only after starting phase 3 trials. But in Taiwan, vaccine makers are allowed to apply for authorization right after the completion of phase 2 trials. In response, the CECC said that AstraZeneca only had 3,220 people in its phase 1 and 2 trials, while Moderna and Pfizer had fewer than 1,000 people in their first 2 trials. Taiwan's phase 2 trials involved more than 3,800 people, it said, saying it vouched for the safety of the vaccine candidates.
So we can see here that the health minister misdirected the public by saying that they had conducted better phase 2 trials by having more people than Moderna or Pfizer or AstraZeneca. He avoided the issue that those vaccines were only made available to the mass public after phase 3 testing. It's also not true that Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Pfizer/BNT did not finish phase 3 testing. They most certainly did finish phase 3 testing, but according to the health minister, all of their phase 3 testing won't be done until 2022 or 2023. This is outright disinformation.
A lot of private entities want to buy vaccines for Taiwan. That's with the country facing a shortage during its biggest outbreak since the pandemic began. So far, Taiwan has imported less than 1 million vaccines for its population of over 23 million. And just over 2% have been vaccinated. Initially, the government was reluctant to let the private sector order vaccines, but in the face of mounting criticism about the shortage, officials have changed their tune. An expert pointed out that the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act, Article 48.2, says when there is an urgent public health need, specific drugs can be imported and approved on a case-by-case basis.
So you could say by early June, the Tsai administration finally reversed its position that pharmaceutical companies or companies in general could purchase more than 2 million vaccines for the Taiwan market. However, it should still be noted that this policy wasn't reversed until May or June in 2021. They had bought the time they needed in order to put Medigen at the forefront still. Also, by the time BNT arrives in Taiwan, it is after Medigen goes on the market. This is why Linchen's pharmaceutical company was limited to just 2 million doses. Even if they did wish to make that purchase, 2 million doses wouldn't interfere with the market for Medigen. At the end of the day, the Tsai administration just wouldn't let a large purchase of BNT enter the Taiwan market before Medigen entered the market. After all, who would take Medigen when they can take BNT?
All right, let's take stock once again of how many vaccine doses Taiwan has gotten so far. Well, it's only gotten less than 1 million vaccines. Now, it's purchased about 20 million foreign vaccines, but that's less than half of what it needs for its entire population, and we're still waiting for those vaccines to arrive. Now, what about domestic vaccines?
Taiwan has ordered 5 million doses from Medigen Vaccine Biologics Corporation and 5 million doses from United Biomedical. Both contracts are flexible, though, meaning that both numbers could increase to 10 million, making a total of 20 million vaccine doses. So what kind of vaccine is it? Well, at the moment, there are 4 main vaccine types in use around the world. One uses little fragments of mRNA. That type includes the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. Another type is viral vector vaccines, like the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine.
Now remember, Johnson & Johnson is a viral vector vaccine, but it's not listed here as an example of a vaccine that Taiwan could have gotten. The Tsai administration never gave an explanation for why they didn't even try to order Johnson & Johnson and why they insisted on AstraZeneca. I believe this is because Johnson & Johnson is a one-shot vaccine and AstraZeneca is a two-shot vaccine. Due to the fact that people need 2 shots of AstraZeneca to be fully vaccinated, this fit into the Tsai administration's plan of bringing in Medigen for that second shot possibly, due to limited supplies of AstraZeneca. Johnson & Johnson was undesirable because it would vaccinate the public too quickly for them. We will see later that vaccine mixing becomes an issue that the Tsai administration is very open to. This is so that they can get more people to take Medigen, of course. So on June 3rd, they started this car honking protest against Tsai Ing-wen for blocking foreign vaccines from entering Taiwan.
让现在的小英总统知道，民众对于没有新冠肺炎疫苗其实是没有办法持续忍受下去的，所以我们要求就是小英政府一定要用最快的一个速度，让人民能够打到符合国际认证标准的一个疫苗。
So a key point made by this KMT legislator is that they want internationally recognized vaccines, i.e. not the domestic vaccine Medigen or United Biomedical, which are not internationally recognized and would not help with travel.
蔡英文、陈时中，你挡了郭台铭的捐赠，你挡了佛光山的爱心。
As we'll see later, Terry Go's donation of 5 million BNT vaccine doses was accepted by the Tsai administration. However, it was delayed until August, so it wouldn't interfere with Medigen's distribution.
没疫苗，民众不忍了，车身直接贴要疫苗，疫苗不进来，蔡英文下台。BMW 名车也是直接贴上布条，呛瞎我要 BNT， 其余免谈。
大家百姓的生命安全的，那我们真的很生气啊！
什么疫苗啊？你讲清楚说明白嘛，对不对？辉瑞还是你们高端？
他们讲的话谁会相信？
So there was a great deal of speculation over what the government meant by we are ordering 20 million vaccines. They felt that they were being very unclear about all of it, and that this was just a cover for bringing in a lot of Medigen instead of the vaccines people actually wanted, like BNT/Pfizer.
Japan has donated 1.24 million doses of the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine to Taiwan. The vaccines landed in Taoyuan early Friday afternoon.
今天有一个好消息，日本政府提供给我们的124万剂 AZ 疫苗已经抵达台湾。
So we can see here that Japan played a helpful role in Tsai Ing-wen's scheme of blocking large purchases of vaccines from overseas. Receiving small donations from Japan of AstraZeneca, less than 2 million, helped Tsai Ing-wen take off some of the pressure. But why was Taiwan even in this situation in the first place? It was because she wouldn't allow large purchases of vaccines like BNT for 10 million in late 2020. It's apparent that it was always her plan to receive donations of AstraZeneca from Japan to buy her administration time so that Medigen could be ready. If a nation or a group of nations wanted to donate 10 million vaccines or so to Taiwan, she would probably refuse it, because that would block the market for Medigen. This is why the donation quantities were always carefully considered. They helped, but they didn't want too much help.
有疫苗的好消息，只要确认，我们一定会尽快的跟大家报告，请大家不要担心。 谢谢大家。
She's saying that she'll inform the public as soon as there's good news on vaccines. What she really means is that Medigen is coming.
The U.S. announced Thursday it will soon distribute 25 million COVID vaccines across a wide range of countries, including Taiwan. This will be the initial tranche of an 80 million dose donation pledged by U.S. President Joe Biden. The shots will be sent from the U.S.'s surplus supplies of Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Through a spokesman, President Tsai Ing-wen thanked the Biden administration for its support for Taiwan.
So the US is donating their excess supply of Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. So if Taiwan's going to receive these donations, why aren't they accepting Johnson & Johnson for the Taiwan market? Is there something wrong with it? The real reason is because it's only a one-shot jab. And we'll see later that vaccine mixing becomes an issue, and that the government suggests mixing vaccines together, including Medigen.
The United States is not asking anything of any country to whom we're giving doses. We're not seeking to extract concessions. We're not extorting. We're not imposing conditions the way that other countries who are providing doses are doing. We are doing none of those things.
The US later announces in September that all adults who are foreigners entering the United States must be vaccinated. Therefore, the donation of their vaccines overseas essentially puts their vaccines, which are used in the US, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, at the forefront for anyone who might be visiting the US in the future.
The United States is donating 750,000 vaccines to Taiwan as part of Washington's plan to share shots globally. The donation is a major boost for the island, which is struggling with a spike in domestic cases. The announcement was made by U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth, who along with 2 other senators arrived in Taiwan from South Korea on Sunday. President Tsai Ing-wen said the vaccines would be a great help with their fight against the virus.
Once again, this U.S. donation of 750,000 vaccines is not large enough to interfere with the distribution of Medigen when it goes on the market soon.
人民绕着总统府按喇叭抗议，所以警察现在把他拦下来。这路边，哦，法律没有规定路边不能拍照。哦。不要妨碍公务哦！下来，下来！ 先把公务仪式下来，下来，下来！那现在有什么事情吗？没事啊，我们在而已啊。请你不要哈，站在横山人一下比较安全，好不好？车上是中情局长。 按喇叭抗议，人民有表达抗议的自由。现在连总统府里面的人都跑出来了。你们疫苗不要乱搞，老百姓就不会出来抗议啦。
顺时钟绕了3圈。 然后呢，事实上每一圈我几乎全程都按喇叭。
So this is the former head of the Government Information Office, circling the presidential office, honking her horn in protest of the vaccine situation in Taiwan. On June 6th, the KMT party organized these tour buses to circle the presidential office in protest of the vaccine situation.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has denied a rumor that Taiwan only asked Japan for 1.24 million COVID vaccine doses. The rumor, which cites the remarks of Japan's foreign minister, claims that Taiwan's government only asked for a small vaccine supply to tide the country over until July, when its domestic vaccines would be ready to go. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the rumor is a clear distortion of the Japanese officials' words.
Last Friday, Japan shipped 1.24 million COVID vaccines to Taiwan in an act of friendship. But in the wake of that donation, the internet has been abuzz with rumors and misinformation. On social media, one internet user asked why Japan donated only 1.24 million doses when it had 30 million unused AstraZeneca vaccines. The user claimed that Japan's foreign minister had confirmed as such during an interpellation session last week. According to this internet user, the minister said he'd been told by Taiwan's government that domestic vaccines would be ready in July, and so only a small shipment of vaccines would be needed for now. Premier Su Zhenchang said the incident would be investigated and that those who generate fake news would be prosecuted as part of the government's zero-tolerance policy for disinformation.
So let's take a look at this Reuters article to see if it's really disinformation that Japan had 30 million doses of AstraZeneca. This article, dated February 4th, 2021, says AstraZeneca files for Japan approval of COVID-19 vaccine, second after Pfizer treatment. Drug maker AstraZeneca plc said on Friday it had applied for approval in Japan of its COVID-19 vaccine, making it the second pharmaceutical firm to do so after Pfizer Inc. The Japanese government in December signed a contract to procure 120 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, enough for 60 million people. The company is requesting special approval for the vaccine and plans to submit further data to regulators in March, it said in a statement. This Wall Street Journal article is dated May 21st, 2021. Japan holds off on distributing AstraZeneca vaccine. Tokyo, Japan on Friday said it wouldn't use the COVID-19 vaccine from AstraZeneca plc in the general public for now because of a possible link to blood clots, another blow to the UK drug maker. Japanese regulators approved the AstraZeneca vaccine, but said it would be excluded from the state-funded inoculation program. The program has been using the vaccine from Pfizer Inc. and BioNTech SE since February and is about to add Moderna Inc.'s vaccine, which was also approved in Japan on Friday. Japan has agreements to receive 50 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine from Moderna, 120 million doses from AstraZeneca, and 194 million doses from Pfizer. Each vaccine consists of 2 doses given weeks apart. With Japan's population of about 125 million, the planned deliveries from Pfizer and Moderna should be enough for all adults. This article is dated May 22nd, 2021. 120 million AstraZeneca shots caught in Japan's regulatory limbo. 2-step authorization stalls rollout as production begins. The fate of roughly 120 million doses of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine remains up in the air in Japan after the government paused the rollout the very same day it gave the green light for emergency use. The government has struck a deal to procure 120 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Of these, 30 million are to be produced domestically by Daiichi Sankyo and KM Biologics using undiluted solutions from the US. The imports and production began this spring. Both Daiichi Sankyo and KM were preparing to ship the vaccines upon government approval. So here we see the 30 million figure of AstraZeneca. Given that it is dated May 22nd, 2021, and that Japan donated 1.24 million doses on June 4th, it appears that the 30 million doses of AstraZeneca available for Japan may be true. Therefore, for Premier Susan Chung to make this threat of criminal prosecution for anyone talking about Japan having 30 million doses of AstraZeneca on hand is rather ridiculous. It shows how sensitive the Tsai administration was to actual information about the vaccine situation not only in Taiwan, but in other nations that they were getting donations from.
With AstraZeneca, Moderna, and potentially 2 local COVID vaccine brands emerging as options in Taiwan, experts are starting to consider if it's wise to mix vaccines. This means instead of getting 2 doses of the same brand, you might get Moderna as the first dose, followed by a different brand such as AstraZeneca.
With the pandemic raging, experts widely agree that vaccines are the only way to stop the spread. But the COVID virus is also mutating, threatening the efficacy of currently available vaccines. On Thursday, Medigen CEO Charles Chen said some countries were investigating whether mixing and matching vaccine brands can fight emerging strains. For instance, examining the effects of an AstraZeneca shot followed by a dose of Medigen. But without a steady supply of any single foreign vaccine brand, mixing and matching may be an important way forward. According to National Taiwan University Children's Hospital Superintendent Huang Liming, Huang said that more research on the efficacy of mixed vaccine courses was an imperative.
And therefore, domestic vaccine Medigen has more of a chance in the market. By only allowing 2-dose vaccines into Taiwan, the Tsai administration cleverly left room for Medigen for people's second shots.
今天我们的4军统帅自己偷偷打了 Pfizer 疫苗啊，我这样讲我有我的把握啊，我有我的消息来源。总统府，如果你觉得不对的话，你赶快站出来开记者会啊！自己偷偷打了疫苗，然后出来演一出戏，叫大家来打高端疫苗，然后还说什么我把我的手背留给国产疫苗。我告诉这个蔡同学跟你躲在总统府的这些人，你们这番话我不知道听在美国的这些高官跟 AIT 的心里面，会不会打心眼里瞧不起你们这些人？ 你们明明就拿了美国支援的这个外交的疫苗。
Talk show host Dennis Peng is alleging that Tsai Ing-wen secretly took Pfizer. However, she's claiming that she will take Medigen when it's available. Naturally, the presidential office denied this immediately. They claimed that Tsai Ing-wen, the serving president, took no vaccine, despite the fact that there was a very bad outbreak in Taiwan. Wouldn't it be normal for a leader of a nation to get vaccinated as soon as possible? So this is a China Times opinion article asking why the health minister Chen Shizong is doing what he's doing. The points are as follows. Why wasn't the pharmaceutical company Toyo allowed to buy 30 million doses of Pfizer/BNT in January 2020? Why was AstraZeneca refused when they asked Taiwan to manufacture AstraZeneca? Wealthy people were willing to donate vaccines, but you refused. Japan has apparently over 150 million doses of vaccines left, yet you asked for only 1 million, or 1.24 million. Number 6 reads that in order to buy international vaccines, the contract does not guarantee a specific delivery date, so the delivery is not actually guaranteed, and you didn't even demand that the protection clauses be on the contract. A physician asked for an import of 1,000 doses of monoclonal antibody life-saving drugs for a year, which can reduce death by 50 to 60% of infected persons. However, only 1,000 doses were imported by June 11th. At least half of the 400 infected people died. The pilot quarantine was reduced to 3 + 11 days. Let's take a look at this new Bloom article dated June 13th, 2021. Shanghai Fosun emphasized to shareholders yesterday that it has the exclusive rights to distribute BioNTech vaccines in Taiwan, which it includes as part of the Greater China region that it handles distribution for. This could prove a further obstacle for attempts by Terry Guo to purchase BioNTech vaccines, which he claims he will directly do from Germany. With Guo unable to provide a letter of authorization from the original manufacturer, Guo now intends to purchase through Urgenex, a firm that he recently invested in. When asked, Chen Shizong stated that Taiwan would respect Fosun's right in the Greater China region, but called on the company not to interfere in attempts by Taiwan to purchase vaccines. We will see later in August that Guo Taimin, Terry Guo, doesn't have that much trouble in purchasing the BNT vaccines. However, this was in August. By August, Medigen had already come onto the market, so for Terry Guo to order BNT at that time didn't interfere with the distribution of Medigen. That's why it was allowed by the Tsai administration. In the meantime, former Formosa television chair Dennis Peng has begun alleging that Tsai has secretly been vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. Peng is known for alleging that Tsai's PhD from the London School of Economics is fake. Having been hit with libel lawsuits in the past by Tsai because of his repeated claims to that effect, Taiwan currently does not have any Pfizer vaccines, making this claim further unlikely. This line of logic was repeated by the health minister Chen Shizong, but it's intellectually dishonest, of course. Obviously, Tsai Ing-wen did not go through the proper channels to get her so-called Pfizer vaccine. Dennis Peng alleged that she secretly got the Pfizer vaccine in the AIT building. That is, Pfizer that was brought into Taiwan directly by the US military. This has nothing to do with the vaccines officially in the Taiwan system. Therefore, to make this claim that Taiwan doesn't have Pfizer is completely untrue. The general public has no access to Pfizer, but not government officials, if it was in fact brought in by the US military. This is a typical example of how New Bloom publication, a propaganda mouthpiece for the DPP and the Tsai administration, deceives its English readers by telling only part of the story and then saying that the allegation doesn't make sense. If it gave the entire story, it would have much more explaining to do. So it simplifies things and then say, no, this isn't true, that's not true. Let's take a look at this Taiwan News article dated June 14th, 2021. President Tsai denies rumor she opted for Pfizer jab. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen on Monday, June 14th, denied rumors that she had been vaccinated with the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. Media reported that former political talk show host Dennis Peng had said in a live stream that President Tsai had secretly opted for a Pfizer jab. Peng added that Tsai had put on a political show by encouraging the public to get the domestic vaccine being developed by Medigen Vaccine Biologics Corporation and United Biomedical Inc. Presidential Office spokesperson Xavier Chang said both Tsai and Vice President William Lai are willing to authorize the Central Epidemic Command Center to seek any documents related to their inoculation records and publish them per CNA. The CECC announced on Monday that no COVID vaccination records exist for either the president or vice president. The spokesperson urged malign actors to cease spreading false information, which is criminally prosecutable. Do you hear that, folks? Be careful if you talk about how Tsai Ing-wen may have been vaccinated with Pfizer secretly at the AIT office, which this article once again failed to mention. So obviously publishing their inoculation records would hardly resolve the issue.